Welcome to Living Life in the End for the woman who is set on getting everything she effing deserves. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, your best life transformation strategist. I help women to get everything they desire and deserve in life by equipping them with powerful strategies for immediate implementation to achieve fulfillment. Because life is too long to live unfulfilled. It's time. Girl, it's time. It's time for you to get everything you desire and deserve. It's time for you to live your life on purpose and to live a life of fulfillment, meaning, and joy. It's time. It's time for you to walk boldly in the power of your decisions. Because, girl, if you're going to be in this world, you need to be fulfilled in this life. Life is too long to live unfulfilled. Join me for another episode of Living Life in the And, where you'll learn how to achieve fulfillment and commit to completing all the desires of your heart. Hey, it's time for Musing from the Mind of Dr. SDB, where I share poignant thoughts to help you live your life in the end. Girl, I've got something on my mind. Guess what? Everything you need to live life in the end is within your grasp. Boom, there you go. When I began this journey years ago, I thought that living life in the and was possible, but I really didn't know where to begin. When I began to analyze how I achieved my moments of fulfillment, there were certain elements that led to those moments. And as I began to be more thoughtful about how I was able to achieve greatness in whatever format it was, I distilled those elements to 5 steps that empowered me to turn those moments into a way of life. And so I want to share with you today the 5 things that you need in order to live life in the end. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's going to sound a little similar to something I've said before because it is something that is so simple, and yet we will overlook the simplicity and make living life in the end harder than it ought to be. And just a reminder, living life in the end is the commitment of being who you were meant to be and not choosing between being successful or fulfilled, or putting yourself in a box and thinking that you have to choose just one when you truly can have it all. And remember, all looks different to different women, and all really isn't all, yet all is everything that you desire. And that kind of sounded like a little riddle, but I want you to fully embrace the fact that you don't have to choose and not be happy and not do the things that are purposeful to you. You don't have to limit yourself. That's living life in the or. We want to live life in the and, where we are able to see the possibilities of life before us and figure out how we're going to do it. So let's think about the 5 things you need in order to live life in the end. Number one, the right mindset. Like I told you, you've heard this before. This is no secret, but it all begins in your mind. You must believe that living life in the end is possible, and you must believe that you deserve it. I cannot say enough how important your mindset is. That's why I say it in different ways. I say it multiple times. I say it and then say it again because this is critical to fulfillment. It's critical to any area of your life where you desire to be successful. It begins with your mindset. If you don't believe it's possible, it's not possible. If you believe it's possible, you'll find a way to make it happen. So your mindset is so important. And this isn't about just positive thinking. I don't want you to confuse having the right mindset with just purely positive thinking, being a Pollyanna. Having the right mindset just means that you are oriented towards possibility. You're oriented towards how, and you don't get bogged down in the I can't, I don't have, it's not possible, it's impossible, it's not meant for me. You have a mindset that when, not if, when you are faced with obstacles that seem to say you can't have what you desire, your mind is fixed on determining how you're going to achieve what you desire. The right mindset is about the orientation of your view, your vision, and your sight on the possibilities that lead you to what you desire and deserve. Number two, can't say this enough, the right people. You must have a good team and the right partner. And the right partner is one who also believes that living life in the end is possible for you and that you deserve it. We don't live our lives in in a vacuum. We are surrounded by people, and we must be intentional in connecting ourselves with the right people and ensuring that the people who are in our lives are looking for their own version of living life in the end. And that's something that's really important to embrace as well, is that living life in the end is not something you keep to yourself or want just for yourself. Not only should you want to live your life in the end, but the people in your life should be living life in the end themselves. Because when everybody's living life in the end, it creates energy, it creates harmony, it creates support. So having the right people is twofold. It's literally having a good team because greatness does not happen in isolation. You do need a team. You may be fantastic. You may be awesome. Well, not maybe. You are. You are fantastic. You are awesome. You are talented. You are highly skilled. You are extraordinary. And you are, all of that is magnified. It is magnified when you are able to multiply your skills, talents, and gifts with the skills, talents, and gifts of others and create a great team. So always look for ways to collaborate so that you can extend, expand, and elevate your own gifts, talents, and skills. So having the right people is about being intentional about creating great teams, and it is also very important to have the right partner. And sometimes the partner is your significant other, your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, lover, however you want to call them. But whoever it is that you love and you have deemed to be your life partner, or you're working towards that goal, they need to have the right mindset as well. Because far too often we allow love to dim our light because we may love someone who is not committed to living life in the end for themselves, or if they are, they don't want you to live your life in the end. And this is not mutually exclusive. I think living life in the end is even better when you're living life in the end with the person you love. So having the right people is very important. Number three, the right system. What is a system? A system is a plan, what you want to do, a strategy, how you're going to do it, the tools and resources, the elements that are going to enable you to do it, and self awareness, because you got to know when your system's working and when your system is not. So, a system is your plan, your strategy, tools, resources, and self awareness. Because, as you've heard me say before, and I am duplicative on purpose, we all have a system, and it's important for us to be intentional about the systems that we have. Because when we're not intentional, the system that's in place is working against us rather than working for us. So you got to have the right system. Number four, you must have the right discipline for remaining motivated and determined. Let me tell you, achieving greatness on any level is not easy. There will always be obstacles. Sometimes it's something really major. Sometimes it's just some straight bullshit that is just in your way. I'll just give you a little example. I love my little studio, but y'all, when I came down to record my podcast, for whatever reason, every socket, every electrical socket in my studio is dead. I don't know why. I flicked a little box. I've flicked a little GCF thing. I didn't switch stuff on and off, but it wouldn't happen. But I am motivated and determined to get this podcast recorded. So I found a way. After I wove a tapestry of obscenities, I did. It was a beautiful tapestry of obscenities. After I cried in frustration, I paused for a moment and I said, you know what? I am literally mad. I am motivated and determined because I've got to get this recorded. And I've figured out a way to have an extension cord. Fortunately, I had one of those long orange, extension cords that I use for my yard work. And I was able to run that from my house to my studio. And voila, there is light, there's power. But I use that just as an example of when we face obstacles, when power switches don't work, when plans don't go as planned, you are able to embrace what I call disruptive elevation when life doesn't go as planned, but goes exactly as it should, to keep it moving. Because when plan A doesn't work, you just move right along to plan B so that you can keep it moving. So you've got to develop a discipline for figuring shit out. Okay. You've got to develop a discipline for coming up with a solution when you are faced with challenges. You've got to develop a discipline for not allowing disappointment to derail you. Because I'm not saying that you don't get frustrated. I'm not saying you don't weave tapestries of obscenities when you are frustrated. I'm not saying you don't get angry. Get a little mad. A little mad is fine, but don't stay a little mad. Get big mad. Get motivated and determined. That's a discipline. That's a discipline. In my daily affirmation that I have recorded and listened to daily, I have an affirmation that acknowledges that I always find a way. I always find a way. And Because I have embedded that affirmation in my head, when I am faced with a difficulty, I can think about the fact that I always find a way. And since I always find a way, I'll find a way in that moment. So develop a discipline for remaining motivated and determined. And number five, you need the right reason. You need a why. You need a purpose. You're not just doing stuff. I'm not doing this podcast because it's cute. I'm not doing this podcast because I just want to hear my voice and I want other people to hear my voice. I'm not doing this podcast just because I want to be an influencer or famous or whatever. The reason that I am committed to this podcast is I believe that every woman ought to be fulfilled, fit, and free. And I believe that my voice is a way to inspire, ignite, and invigorate other women to desire that for themselves. So, because that is my purpose, when that stupid outlet wouldn't work, I was committed to finding a way because this was bigger than me. This is bigger than me just recording some words so I can hear my voice. There is someone listening to this podcast, and that's always my prayer, that there's someone who will listen to my voice and be inspired and who will learn something and will desire fulfillment for herself. That's my reason. What's your reason? When you have the right reason, you will find a way because it's not just something trivial that you're doing. And if you don't have a right reason, you can't think of a right reason for desiring fulfillment, freedom, and fitness. I'm going to give it to you now. You deserve it. Point blank, period. Okay? You deserve it. That's the reason. That's the reason that we ought to get up every day thinking about how can I live fulfilled, fit, and free today? And you know what's even more beautiful? When we get up and we think, how can I help someone else to be fulfilled, fit, and free? That is the reason that living life in the and is so important. Because when you show up and live life in the and in your own way, there is a woman watching you, there's a little girl that sees you, and she gets inspired to say, oh, I can live my life in the and too. So, those are the five things that you need to live your life in the and: the right mindset, the right people, the right system, the right discipline for remaining motivated and determined, and the right reason. You deserve it. Well, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for joining me for another musing from the mind of Dr. SDB, where I share poignant thoughts that help you to live your life in the end. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you felt something. But most of all, girl, I hope you do something. Fulfillment won't happen because you desire it. It will happen because you decide to go get it. Let's get it.
Hey, this is your girl, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Living Life in the End for the woman who is set on getting everything she effing deserves. I hope you learned something, felt something, but most of all, girl, I hope you are ready to do something. Please be sure to let me know what you got out of this episode. Please subscribe so that you don't miss out on another great conversation. And of course, I'd love it if you would give us a rating and review and let me know how you are living life in the end. Because remember, life is too long to live unfulfilled. Your life is the product of your choices. Choose to commit to bringing the desires of your heart to completion. Let's get everything we deserve. Girl, let's get it.